Good morning, everybody. Glad to have you here. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. And if you will, this morning, like, share, comment, and then if you would like to follow along, we're going to look at one verse again in the little letter to Philemon. And it is, in my opinion, just a really cool verse because it shares uh, Paul's opinion, I think, of Philemon. And it also is a great prayer that Paul shares for Philemon that would be a good prayer for us to take and use as a model as we pray for each other, pray for our churches, that we would see something similar to Paul's prayer. Verse 6, he says, "And I pray that the sharing of your faith may become effective for the full knowledge of every good thing that is in us for the sake of Christ." Going to start at the end of this verse, actually. Paul says, I want every good thing that is in us, want there to be a knowledge of every good thing that is in us. And so this is actually several people writing about this verse talk about that it's actually a really complex verse because he's really got a lot packed into just a few words. And some of them he doesn't really, for example, what does he mean by every good thing that is in us? And people have some different ideas as to what Paul was referring to. I think taking Paul's other writings in account, that there's a really good chance that what Paul was talking about here was the fruit of the Spirit, the love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, that list, that are in believers, that they would be developed and that there would be a knowledge of that, both personally and or internally and externally, that we would realize and see the fruit of the Spirit. We would work to develop the fruit of the Spirit, and then that others would see those things, that again, love, gentleness, goodness, faith, those things being developed in us as we mature in our faith. And why Paul wants that done, why Paul wants that knowledge of every good thing in us, he says it's for the sake of Christ. So that not so that we would be honored or glorified, but the fruit of the Spirit that develops in a believer is again not so that we could be pumped up or so that others would see us or brag on us, but so that Christ would be glorified. And so and that happens, he says, I pray that the sharing of your faith may become effective. And so this prayer, again, he's praying to all the good things, the fruit of the Spirit that is in us, in believers, would show for the sake of Christ. Well, how does that happen? It happens as we share our faith. Now, one of the things also that I notice here, again, he says that the sharing of your faith may become effective. And so he doesn't say so that you would start sharing your faith. Paul says, is saying you should already be sharing your faith. What I'm praying is that it becomes even more effective, that we should already be telling people about Christ. We should already be sharing the good news of Jesus. Paul is praying that now that it would become effective as people see the fruit of the Spirit, the good things in our life for the sake of Christ. And again, a lot packed in this little verse, but it's a marvelous example, a marvelous prayer that we should pray, I believe, for each other, pray for our churches, that the knowledge of every good thing for Christ would be developed. People would have a knowledge of the good thing in us, the fruit of the Spirit in us, for the sake of Christ, so that the sharing of our faith would be effective. And so it's, again, you think about it. If you're trying to share the faith, and your love, your joy, your peace, your goodness, your gentleness, those things are not coming through, then you're probably not going to be very effective in sharing your faith. And so these things go hand in hand. We need to be very aware of the fruit of the Spirit, and we have talked about that in the past and looked at each element. We need to be developing and working, praying that God would mature and grow that fruit in our life so that we could be effective in sharing our faith. And we should be praying that for each other. You think about it. You have a good day. We'll see you here tomorrow morning.